The notification appeared on my screen just as I clutched my bridal bouquet, still glowing from saying I do to the man of my dreams. In the church's entrance hall, surrounded by elegant floral displays and the distant sounds of celebrating guests, I read the message that would change everything. You're terminated. Think of it as my wedding present to you. Tate Lawson, my supervisor's son and the person who had tormented me at work for 3 months, had deliberately chosen my wedding day to destroy my career. I was the lead project manager at the city's most respected architectural firm, a position I'd earned through 2 years of relentless dedication and exhaustion. When I showed the message to my new husband, Karen, his reaction caught me off guard. Rather than sharing my shock, he smiled knowingly, took my shaking hands, and whispered, "Save the messages for later. This day is ours." His calm confidence in his eyes told me to trust his judgment, so I powered off my phone, handed it to my maid of honor, and walked into our celebration under a cascade of rose petals and applause. 3 hours into our reception, during our first dance, my maid of honor Nima approached with alarm written across her face. "Waverly, your phone is going crazy. There are 108 missed calls." The screen showed a flood of calls, colleagues, office staff, and 17 attempts from Gregory Lawson himself, the company owner and Tate's father. That's when I understood this wasn't simply a termination. This was the start of something far more significant than I could have anticipated. My name is Waverly Abrams, and until that devastating text, I was the operational backbone of Crescent Design Studio. I'm naturally methodical, the type who organizes grocery lists by color and can detect measurement errors in architectural drawings from across a room. My coworkers nicknamed me the database because I retained every client detail, project specification, and deadline without consulting notes. Both my parents were educators who instilled values of precision and dedication. When my father suffered a stroke during my freshman year, I nearly abandoned college to help with mounting medical expenses. Instead, I intensified my studies while working overnight shifts at a printing company. I earned my degree with distinction in architectural project management, with additional specializations in computer systems and urban planning. This unique combination of skills landed me at Crescent 2 years prior. Gregory Lawson, the company's founder, appreciated my rare blend of architectural expertise and systems thinking. He brought me aboard to revolutionize their project management approach. I developed a comprehensive system from the ground up, one that monitored every blueprint revision, client modification, budget distribution, and permit submission. The results were remarkable. Project timelines improved by 30%, client satisfaction soared, and Gregory declared me the finest investment this company has ever made. Then Tate entered the picture. At 32, Tate Lawson had drifted through 3 different departments within his father's company without finding success. He possessed his father's strong jawline and confident bearing but lacked Gregory's business intelligence and interpersonal skills. 3 months before my wedding, Gregory announced his partial retirement and elevated Tate to department director, making him my immediate supervisor. The workplace dynamic shifted immediately. Where Gregory had valued my contributions, Tate excluded me from important meetings. Where Gregory had publicly acknowledged my innovations, Tate claimed credit for my work. When I organized training sessions to document my system for other employees, Tate canceled them as unnecessary expenditures. During this turbulent period, I met Karen while submitting plans for Crescent's largest project ever, a multi-million-dollar downtown revitalization. He worked in the city's permit office, a thoughtful and thorough professional who actually reviewed submissions carefully rather than simply approving them automatically. Our connection began with blueprint discussions, evolved into coffee meetings, then dinner dates. Karen became my refuge from the increasingly toxic work environment. What I didn't realize then was that he was documenting troubling patterns in Crescent's submissions, specifically those Tate handled personally. 2 months into our relationship, Karen proposed. We planned an intimate wedding on short notice, partly because we were both practical people who didn't need elaborate ceremonies, and partly because I sensed my position at Crescent was becoming unstable. Tate had been making ominous comments about restructuring and streamlining. I never imagined he would actually terminate me on my wedding day. As our reception continued around me, I retreated to the bridal suite and listened to Gregory's voicemail. "Waverly, this is Gregory. Contact me immediately. Tate lacked authority to terminate you. There's been a serious error. We need you urgently. The downtown project deadline is Monday, and nobody can access your system. 6 additional messages followed, each more frantic than the previous one. In the final recording, Gregory's usual confidence had vanished. Waverly, please. The West Side development team is threatening to withdraw. No one can locate the updated renderings. The password Tate assumed would work is incorrect. We're completely paralyzed. Sitting on the edge of a velvet settee, my wedding gown spreading around me, I experienced an unexpected sensation. Power. For 2 years, I had constructed a system so intuitive for me that I navigated it effortlessly, yet so sophisticated that others couldn't operate it without proper training that Tate had repeatedly blocked. I was the sole person alive who completely understood every feature, every shortcut, every safeguard I had built. Now, on what should have been my darkest professional moment, I held all the advantages. Karen found me there, contemplating my phone. He sat carefully beside me, mindful of my dress. I should reveal something, he said quietly. The plans Tate has been submitting to my department. He's been modifying them after the engineering team approves them, removing safety elements, substituting inferior materials, changes that would never pass legitimate inspection. My blood turned cold. That's not just unethical, it's dangerous, Karen nodded. I've been documenting everything. I plan to report it next week, but now, I finally understood his earlier smile at the termination text. This wasn't a disaster. It was an opportunity, one that removed me from legal exposure while simultaneously rendering the company helpless without me. What should we do? I asked. Karen smiled. Nothing. Not today. Today we celebrate. Tomorrow we depart for Belize for our honeymoon. And when we return, he kissed my forehead, we'll transform the entire industry. We returned to our reception, and I danced like someone without any worries. By midnight, I had accumulated 212 missed calls. Throughout our honeymoon week, the calls persisted. I directed them all to voicemail. Gregory's messages transformed, from urgent to desperate to practically pleading. On our 3rd day in Belize, while Karen and I enjoyed fresh coconut water on the beach, Gregory offered to triple my salary for my return. I deleted the message without responding. 2 days later, he offered partial company ownership. Again, I remained silent. Karen observed me declining these extraordinary offers without comment. He understood something fundamental about my character. This had never been about money, it was about respect. You know, he said, as we watched the sunset on our final evening in Belize, there's an opening in the consulting division for the city planning department. They need someone who understands architectural submissions from both perspectives, someone who could establish guidelines for proper protocols. I turned to him, intrigued. Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? I'm suggesting you establish your own consulting firm with the city as your initial client. They'd compensate you for your expertise in creating systems that detect exactly the kind of corner-cutting Tate was practicing. The concept took root immediately. By the time our plane landed, I had drafted a business plan on my tablet. 3 days after our return, I registered Precision Protocol Consulting. My phone rang within minutes of the business registration becoming public. Gregory Lawson. For the first time in 2 weeks, I answered. Waverly, thank God. We're in crisis. The downtown project has stalled. Clients are abandoning us. Please name your price. I'm sorry to hear that, Gregory, I replied calmly, but I'm no longer available for employment. I've launched my own consulting firm. We'll hire your firm then. Whatever you're charging, we'll pay it. I allowed the silence to stretch between us. My first client is the city planning department, Gregory. I'm designing new verification protocols for building submissions. The sharp intake of breath indicated he grasped the implications. If I was collaborating with the city to create better verification systems, I would inevitably uncover Tate's dangerous modifications if Karen hadn't already reported them. Waverly, please. Tate made a terrible mistake. He was envious of your relationship with me, of your competence. Let me fix this. Some things can't be repaired, Gregory. Some bridges, once burned, remain ash. I ended the call and turned to Karen, who had been listening nearby. Is it wrong that felt so satisfying? He shook his head. It's not wrong to stand up for yourself or for public safety. The following week, I began my contract with the city. With my insider knowledge of how firms like Crescent operated, I quickly identified weaknesses in the current verification system. I created new protocols that would catch unauthorized changes. to approved plans, especially structural modifications made without engineering review. As part of the process, the city conducted an audit of recent submissions. Predictably, they discovered numerous violations in Crescent's downtown project plans, specifically in submissions handled by Tate. Load-bearing walls had been thinned, foundation specifications altered, safety features removed to reduce costs. The investigation was swift and devastating. The downtown project was permanently canceled and reassigned to a competing firm. Tate wasn't merely fired, he was blacklisted industry-wide. His professional license was suspended pending review. Crescent Design Studio lost millions. Their reputation, built over 30 years, crumbled in 30 days. Through industry contacts, I learned that Gregory had suffered a minor heart attack from the stress. Despite everything, that news brought me no satisfaction. Gregory had been an excellent mentor before his blind spot for his son clouded his judgment. My consulting business flourished. Within 6 months, I had contracts with 3 municipal governments and was hiring staff to meet demand. Karen received a promotion at the permit office for his ethical stance. We purchased our first home, a fixer-upper with solid bones and incredible potential, much like our life together. Then, 1 year to the day after my wedding, a thick cream envelope arrived at my office. Inside was a handwritten letter from Gregory. Lawson, dear Waverly, some debts can never be fully repaid, but acknowledgement is the beginning of atonement. I've spent this year rebuilding what my son and my own negligence destroyed. Tate has completed a professional ethics program and works now in a junior position under strict supervision. He understands the gravity of his actions. Crescent has new leadership and new protocols. We've overhauled every system and every submission process. We are a different company now. I'm writing to ask if you would consider meeting with me, not to return. I understand that bridge is indeed ash, but to consult on our new systems, to ensure we never fail the public trust again. Whether you accept or decline, please know my respect for you has only grown. You are right to stand your ground, right to protect the public, right to demand better. I showed the letter to Karen that evening. What do you think? Should I meet with him? Karen considered it carefully. What would be your purpose in going? Closure, vindication, professional curiosity? I pondered his question. All of those, I suppose. And maybe to see if genuine change is possible. Then I think you have your answer. When I arrived at Crescent's offices the following week, the receptionist greeted me with unusual deference. As I walked through the hallways, I noticed significant changes, new faces, new energy, new systems visible on screens. They'd truly started over. In the conference room, I found not just Gregory, but Tate as well, sitting stiffly beside his father. Gregory stood to greet me, but Tate remained seated, eyes fixed on the table. Waverly, thank you for coming. Gregory's handshake was firm, but his face looked aged beyond the single year that had passed. I took a seat across from them. Your letter was unexpected, as was the education of this past year, Gregory replied, but necessary. He glanced at his son. Tate has something to say to you. Tate finally looked up. The arrogant gleam I remembered had vanished, replaced by something unfamiliar, humility. I owe you an apology, he said, voice barely above a whisper. What I did was unprofessional, vindictive, and potentially dangerous to the public. There's no excuse for my behavior. His words sounded rehearsed, but the shame coloring his face appeared genuine. Apology noted, I replied, neither accepting nor rejecting it outright. Gregory slid a folder across the table containing detailed overviews of their new systems and a consultant contract offering substantial compensation for my review and recommendations. We're not asking you to come back, Gregory clarified, just to evaluate our new approach, to ensure we've truly changed. Tate suddenly stood and left the room, returning with a smaller envelope, which he placed before me with shaking hands. Inside was a check for exactly the amount of my entire wedding, down to the penny. How did you know this figure? I asked suspiciously. Your wedding planner is my cousin's best friend, Gregory admitted. I asked for the total. I wanted it to be precise. Tate spoke again, more steadily this time. Consider it our gift to you, the one I claimed to be giving when I had no right. Before I could respond, Tate placed a small USB drive beside the check. This also belongs to you. It's the entire project management system you created, with all the passwords and access points. We've managed to recreate basic functionality, but it's never worked properly without you. It's yours to take or delete. I stared at the tiny drive, feeling the weight of 2 years' work condensed into something I could hold between the fingers. In that moment, looking at these two men, one broken by his own ethical failings, the other humbled by the consequences of his arrogance, I realized something profound about revenge. Sometimes it arrives without you having to deliver it yourself. Sometimes the greatest vengeance is simply surviving, thriving, and watching others reckon with the mess they've made. I closed the folder and stood up. I'll review your proposals and get back to you within the week. My fee will be triple your initial offer, paid in advance. My team will need complete access and full transparency. Gregory nodded immediately. Agreed. And one more condition. I looked directly at Tate. You personally will complete every single training module I assign. No matter how basic or time-consuming, you'll learn every aspect of proper project management, ethical submission practices, and regulatory compliance. You'll become the company's foremost expert on doing things the right way. Color drained from Tate's face, but he nodded. Yes, I understand. Then we might have something to discuss. I gathered my belongings and walked to the door, pausing with my hand on the handle. Oh, and Gregory, the check is unnecessary. Seeing your son learn the value of integrity will be gift enough. That evening, as Karen and I discussed the meeting over dinner, my phone pinged with a news alert. Crescent's competitor, the firm that had taken over the downtown revitalization project, was under investigation for bribery. They had allegedly paid off officials to fast-track approvals despite serious design flaws. By morning, I had my answer. I called Gregory at 7 a.m. I've reconsidered your offer, I told him. I'm not interested in consulting for Crescent. The disappointment in his silence was palpable. However, I continued, I am interested in something else, a partnership. My company oversees all project management and regulatory compliance. Crescent handles design and construction. We operate as separate entities but present as partners. To clients, that's highly unusual, Gregory said slowly. So is firing someone on their wedding day, I countered. I'm not interested in returning to a company where I could be undermined again, but I am interested in seeing that downtown project completed properly. The community deserves that. After negotiation, we agreed to a 2-year partnership with performance-based extension options. When the competitor firm was officially removed from the downtown project, our newly formed partnership was ready with updated plans, enhanced safety features, and a comprehensive management system. The city awarded us the contract, partly due to our innovative partnership structure that promised both creative design and rigorous compliance verification. The press called it a new model for architectural accountability. Tate was assigned as junior project coordinator, 5 levels below his previous role. Every morning, he received detailed training modules from my team. Every evening, he was tested on the material. To my surprise, he never complained. 3 months into our partnership, I arrived early at the construction site and found Tate already there, methodically checking concrete specifications against approved plans. You don't have to personally verify this, I told him. That's what the site engineers are for. He straightened up, clipboard in hand. I know, but I need to understand every aspect from the ground up. That's the only way I'll truly learn. Why did you do it? I asked suddenly. Why fire me on my wedding day specifically? Tate flinched but held my gaze. Because I knew you were right about everything. The training programs, the safety concerns, the need for better documentation. And I couldn't stand it. Couldn't stand that you'd built something so essential that even my father respected you more than me. So you tried to hurt me at my most vulnerable moment. He nodded, shame evident in his posture. I thought I'd feel powerful. Instead, I watched everything collapse. Do you think you'll ever truly forgive me? He asked eventually. I considered the question carefully. Forgiveness isn't something you're owed. It's something that might develop over time through consistent actions rather than apologies. Show me who you're becoming, not who you regret being. Over the following months, the downtown project progressed ahead of schedule. Our partnership model received national attention, with other municipalities expressing interest in similar arrangements. My consulting firm expanded to 15 employees, while Crescent gradually rebuilt its reputation. 6 months into the project, Gregory wanted to promote Tate to assistant project manager. I supported the promotion with one condition. Tate would handle the upcoming community presentation alone. The community presentation was a critical milestone, where we would update neighborhood residents on construction progress and timeline. It was high pressure, with potentially hostile questions from residents who'd seen previous promises broken. I attended incognito, sitting in the back row. When Tate stepped to the podium, I noticed something surprising. He was nervous. The old Tate would have covered insecurity with arrogance. This version acknowledged it directly. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tate Lawson, Assistant Project Coordinator. Some of you may remember when this project stalled last year. That failure was partly due to my mistakes, shortcuts I tried to take that compromised safety and violated your trust. By the end, initial skepticism had transformed into cautious optimism. Residents approached him afterward with follow-up questions which he addressed with patience and transparency. The next day, I called Gregory. I support the promotion. He's earned it. That evening, as Karen and I walked past the construction site, we paused to watch the sunset glint off the partially completed structures. Are you happy with how things turned out? He asked. I considered the question carefully. I'm satisfied. Not because they suffered, but because actual change happened. The company is safer. The buildings are sounder. The community will benefit. And Tate is becoming someone his position deserves. This wasn't the revenge I'd initially imagined when I returned from my honeymoon to 212 missed calls. It was something more complex, a reconstruction rather than destruction. I hadn't ruined Tate or Gregory. I'd helped create a framework where they could become better versions of themselves while securing my own position of strength. True power isn't about destruction. It's about having the ability to destroy and choosing a different path. It's about reshaping reality according to your vision, not just reacting to someone else's cruelty. In the end, I didn't just get even. I got ahead, and I did it not by stooping to Tate's level, but by rising so far above it that he would spend years climbing to reach where I now stood. The downtown project would be completed under budget and ahead of schedule. My consulting firm would continue to grow, and I would forever be known as the woman who turned a wedding day firing into an industry-changing business model. Sometimes the most satisfying victories aren't about what you destroy, but what you build from the ashes of what tried to destroy you.